I welcome all the 9th class students for the 5th chapter in Mathematics, Coordinate Geometry. In this chapter, today we are going to learn about Cartesian System. Children, we have earlier studied about number line. So you can see a number line there. So on the number line we have 0 in the middle. We have all positive numbers on the right side of 0 and the negative numbers on the left side of 0. So on a number line we can identify any point, whether it is a whole number, integer or a fraction or a rational number. So and we can also say where the point lies. Suppose I say -1, it lies on the left side of 0, and if I say +5, it lies on the right side of 0. So on a number line, with one single number line, we can identify or mark any point. But when we want to locate a point in a plane, we need two number lines. So we take two number lines which are perpendicular. To have a generalization, we take one number line as a horizontal line and the other as a vertical line. This horizontal number line is called as x-axis and the vertical number line is called as y-axis. Both axes meet at a point O. This is called as origin. These axes divide the plane into four parts. These parts are called as quadrants. Now let us see in a graph. Now you can see two number lines. One is a horizontal line and the other is a vertical line. The horizontal line is the x-axis and the vertical line, number line is the y-axis. Both of them are meeting at the point origin. So here you can see Q1 marked there. That is the first quadrant. We take these quadrants in anti-clockwise direction. So you can see Q2, Q3 and Q4. These are the four quadrants. Now Q1 is bounded by positive x-axis, that is from 0 all the positive numbers towards your right side and towards your upwards even your y-axis is positive. When you see your Q2, you have a negative x-axis and a positive y-axis. In Q3 you have negative x-axis and negative y-axis. In Q4 you have positive x-axis and negative y-axis. Now the plane with both axes and four quadrants is called as coordinate plane. It is also called as a xy plane or a Cartesian plane. It is called Cartesian plane named after René Descartes. The axes are called as coordinate axis. Here we see the horizontal number line and the vertical number line, that is x-axis and y-axis. Both are meeting at the point O, that is the origin. I am locating a point A and a point B. Now how to find the coordinates? I am dropping a perpendicular from A onto x-axis, that is the line L1. The foot of the perpendicular is C. Similarly, I am dropping a perpendicular from A onto y-axis, that is your line L2. The foot of the perpendicular is D. So the length OC is the x coordinate and the length OD is the y coordinate. Similarly, from B I am dropping a perpendicular onto x-axis. So L3 is the perpendicular and the point E is the foot of the perpendicular. I am dropping a perpendicular from B onto y-axis, that is by line L4. The foot of the perpendicular is F. So here the length OE is the x coordinate and the length OF is the y coordinate. So whenever a point is located and we are going to draw perpendiculars from the point onto x-axis and onto the y-axis. The distance between the origin and the foot of the perpendicular on x-axis is the x coordinate, and the distance between the origin and the foot of the perpendicular onto the y-axis is the y coordinate. So every point has its own x and y coordinates. So a point can be located or identified with the use of these x and y coordinates. X coordinate of a point is the distance from origin to the foot of the perpendicular on x-axis. Y coordinate of a point is the distance from origin to the foot of the perpendicular on y-axis. The x coordinate is called as abscissa and the y coordinate is called as ordinate. To locate or to identify a point, we need x and y coordinates. Every point is indicated as x, y written in brackets. We write x coordinate in place of x and y coordinate in place of y. For example, point A has x coordinate as 2 and y coordinate as 5. Then we denote point A as 2, 5. So 2, 5 will always be written in brackets. So 2 indicates that the x coordinate is 2 and the y coordinate is 5. In Q1, we see that all points have x and y coordinates as positive values. So we can say that in Q1, all points are having positive x coordinate and positive y coordinate. In Q2, all points are having negative x coordinate and positive y coordinate. In Q3, all points are having negative x coordinate and negative y coordinate. In Q4, all points are having positive x coordinate and negative y coordinate. So, depending upon the sign of x and y coordinates, we can easily identify in which quadrant the point lies. Now, this is an xy plane. Here A is a point, O is the origin. We have drawn perpendiculars from A onto x-axis and y-axis. And the foot of the perpendicular on x-axis is C and the foot of the perpendicular on y-axis is B. So the length OC indicates the x coordinate and the length OB indicates the y coordinate. Now let us try to see what happens to the coordinates when the position of A is changed from A onto the x-axis. So slowly we are moving the position of A along the perpendicular. We observe that the length OB is decreasing. So as the point A is coming onto the x-axis, we see that OB becomes 0. So the y coordinate on a point on x-axis is 0. So for any point on x-axis, the y coordinate is 0. Now let us see what happens if the point A is on y-axis. So slowly I am moving the position of A onto the y-axis, towards y-axis. So here OB is not changing but OC is decreasing. So slowly it is decreasing. So as it has come onto the y-axis, we find that OC is 0. That is, the x coordinate has become 0. So for any point on y-axis, the x coordinate is 0. Now let us see what happens if A coincides with O. So here A has come to x-axis, so y coordinate is 0. Now I am changing the position of A onto the origin. So when the point A has come onto the origin, OC is equal to 0. That is, the x coordinate is also 0. So the coordinates of origin are 0, 0. The x coordinate is 0 and the y coordinate is 0. We observe that for any point on x-axis, the y coordinate is 0. So every point on x-axis will be of the form x, 0. Similarly, all points on y-axis have x coordinate as 0. So every point on y-axis is of the form 0, y. We also have seen that when the point A moved to origin, both coordinates became 0. So the coordinates of origin are 0, 0. So children, today we have learnt about what is an xy plane, what are quadrants, how are the points in each quadrant, how to identify whether the point lies in first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant or fourth quadrant. And we also have found out how to find the x and y coordinate of a point. We have found out how the points are there on x-axis and how the points are there on y-axis. We also found out the coordinates of the origin. Thank you children for watching the video.